Okay, it should have something go up. Oh, we're already having a, there it goes. Yay! Okay,
Okay.
so um, I thought I just wrote all about that. Let's see what it says here. Yeah, see more. So we'll just put all of that here. Edit, copy. Everyone should start coming in. Edit, paste. There we go. ERIN Montgomery. Yay! All right.
Cool.
People's Outer Dimension. There it is right there. There's your logo and everything. The pod. So that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah. I love it. That's really cool. Okay, hey, hello everybody. We're getting ready to go live. I feel like it's been forever since I've been on. I don't think I was on last week, and so it's like I'm like, God, I got to get back on the horse here. So, okay, so we're going to go live over here on Facebook, and then we're going to go live on Revolution Radio. So let's do that now. We're going to add Revolution Radio. Let me find it. Revolution Radio, Studio B, there we are. And we're going to add that now.
Big bastard, you've got no arms left. Yes, I have. It's a flesh wound. I don't believe I've seen such a display of courage, skill, nerve, grace, and stupidity. I'll do you for that. Oh, what? Come here. What are you going to do, bleed on me? I'm invincible. You're a loony. The Black Knight always triumphs.
Roundtable Live, Monday through Friday, 1 a.m., 4 a.m. Eastern Time. Bring your mind, bring your ideas, bring your voice. King Arthur had nothing on us. Here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com.
Did you ever feel that things were not quite right? That everything was just ever so slightly askew?
Do you have, to paraphrase Morpheus, a splinter in your mind?
If you're interested in hearing the latest information about UFOs, the paranormal,
Ancient cultures and structures,
monatomic elements,
longevity,
fantastic discoveries in science,
downloaded to your brain,
then tune into us. Hi, I'm Dave.
and I'm Mackie.
And we are Shiny Side Out, Sundays 2 to 4 a.m. Eastern. See you then.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here.
Barbara Jean Lindsey is an internationally acclaimed psychic, spiritual healer, author, and founder of the online mystery school, Esoteric University. As the Cosmic Oracle, she is a conduit to the powers that be to answer your questions about your future self, past lives, current career, love. She shines light into the darkness to illuminate what was, what may be, and beyond. The readings and advice given by Barbara Jean Lindsey are for entertainment purposes only, should not take the place of any medical, legal, or financial advice given to you by a qualified professional, and are not a substitute for medical, legal, or financial advice. If you need a doctor, call a doctor. If you need to be expanded, call the Cosmic Oracle.
Hello and welcome everyone to the Cosmic Oracle Show. This is your host, Barbara Jean Lindsey, and it is Friday, October 9th, 2020, and I am coming to you live from Hot Springs, Arkansas. And it has a special place in my heart because my grandmother, Drusilla, was born here, and my mom, Elsie Lee, named after General Lee, we come from a Southern family, was born here as well. And so I am hanging out with my good friend Joanna, another of the wild women. I see that Stacy Cossey's online. Hello, Stacy, another member of the wild women. And we've been traveling and on the road since after the Chihuahua, what was originally Chihuahua, since the Sasquatch conference in September. So we're kind of winding down a little bit, but we went to breakfast this morning at the hotel, and all these children, I bet there were like 50 kids, 40 to 50 kids in the restaurant. And we're thinking, I haven't seen that many kids in a long time. And so we kind of asked someone, what's going on with all the kids? And they said that they had come here because of the hurricane. And so there's a Hurricane Delta that's coming through. And they came to Hot Springs, Arkansas to stay safe. And we said, well, we've been kind of running from the fires originally up in Northern California and Southern California and all around California. And that's kind of how we started our whole movement and our journey along the way. And so I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the Cosmic Oracle Show. This is our 5th year, the end of our 5th year, beginning of the 6th year in January. And I want to thank you for tuning in. It's an all-volunteer station, and what that means is nobody gets paid for it, okay? So, but you can give a donation to keep us on the air by going to Revolution Radio, and that's at freedomslips.com, and give whatever you can, $5, $10, to keep us on the air. We really appreciate it, and thank you for keeping us on the air for all these years and all these shows. So thank you in advance for your generous donation. And if you want to look up my work, it's Barbara Jean Lindsey. That's BarbaJeanLindsey.com. BarbaraJeanLindsey.com. You can see what's going on, where I'm going, what I'm doing, and what kind of trouble I'm getting into. It's always good, though. It's always good. So I'm really excited tonight to have ERIN Montgomery on the show. She is a member of at least a 4-generation UFO contactee family. So she'll be telling us all about that. ERIN began experiencing strange phenomena as early as 7 years old and has been able to retrieve some of those memories through hypnotic regression in order to help relieve some of the trauma that was created by those early encounters with alien beings. She continues to have UFO and paranormal experiences throughout her life and is currently not only working as a shaman, and while excuse me, we'll have her talk about that, to help heal people, but energetically. And she unhaunts houses, and she works with spirits, and she reads people's cards. So we'll have her talk all about that. She's also learning how to do hypnotic regressions to help others who have suffered as she has. And during the day, she works as a clinical therapist in the not so surprising location of Roswell, New Mexico. What's up with that, right? My goodness, if you're going to work in this field, you got to live in Roswell, New Mexico. I think that's a coincidence, though. And in the evenings, she can be found working with others on a spiritual level, writing new material, or working to engage more direct contact with beings not of this world. She has a new book out. I read it last night, and it is fabulous. And the title is Dirty Little Secrets, Confessions of an Alien Contactee. You can get that on Amazon, and I'll leave that link in the Facebook because we're live on Facebook as well. Welcome to the show, ERIN Montgomery.
Well, thank you very much.
Wow, I don't know where to start. There's so much, right?
There is a lot. There is a lot.
There is a lot. So I think we'll start with, well, for you to write a book, I know it's a very difficult thing to do because when you start writing a book like that, it starts to open you up again and you start to remember some of those past experiences. So And I know that's not so comfortable sometimes.
Right. It was a very difficult decision. It's something that has been in my head for years, and I've known I need to do it. And I've started the project many, many times and would find several reasons to not do it. Like, well, I'm missing a journal. Can't write the book. Oh, I've only got one transcript from the revisions. Can't write the book. And then when I realized that all of this avoidance of getting this done is just part of the problem and the reason why I want to get this out, and that's dealing with the trauma um, behind these encounters. Then I was like, I don't have a choice. I have got to work through these issues, and I've got to do it anyways. There's never going to be a perfect world. I'm not going to have everything I need ever. So I just need to do it. And I started the process by writing little articles. So originally these were articles I was putting up on focal.media. And anytime like a concept or a theme came into my mind, I'd sit and I'd write about it and publish it. A week later, 2 weeks later, a month later, it depended. I would do another one, and eventually I had enough, and I thought I've got to just publish this. I'm done. And of course I'll never be done. The information is going to keep on coming. I'm going to learn more and more, but I needed to finish and just get it out. It was time.
Yeah, and it's like birthing a baby. That's how I remember. It's like, oh my God, it's
Yes.
like there's the before the book and after the book.
Yes. My life has pretty much changed after the book came out. I didn't think it was going to be as dramatic as it has been. It's definitely a new experience.
Well, yeah, you can't go back, right? It's like after you birth a baby, you can't go back, right? You can't hide, no matter how hard, because now it's out there and it has its own journey itself. It puts you out there, and I really do want to applaud your courage for doing it. It takes courage, and all of those coulda, shouldas, and all that stinking thinking, and all those reasons why you shouldn't do it. I'm really happy that you made it through to the other side, and we have your beautiful book here.
Thank you. It was certainly a trial.
Yeah. Well, let's start in with you say in your work that it's third generation contact in a fourth generation contact family. Can you
Right.
so what exactly does that mean for our listeners that are tuning in for the first time?
Oftentimes, when you've got contact with alien beings, and you're not the only person in your family who's had contact, and I know many other contactees who realize this as well. So not only do I have contact, and my brother and some cousins, on this generation, so do our parents. My father has seen ships. He hasn't talked about contact personally. My aunt has had at least, close encounters of the third kind, where she sees beings under the ship moving around. She didn't talk much further than that. But also my grandfather, their father, has had experiences as well, or he did when he was alive. And then you trickle back down. So 1, 2, 3, and then now my children are having experiences. So that's generation number 4. And of course, there could be more. I just don't have the history or the knowledge of anybody before my grandfather.
Yeah, and I think I know from my experience when you have the courage to come out and talk about it, then other people in your family start to kind of take you aside, and it gives them permission to talk and tell their stories as well.
I'm hoping so. And I actually reached out to all my cousins, said, okay, do you have any stories? What happened to you? Because I'm doing this, and just deal with it. The only person I haven't really talked to about it is my father. I probably should. And I'm sure he's listened to some of my radio shows, but he's never called me and said, how dare you? So
That's always good.
I'm working up to it.
Yeah, so maybe no news is good news, or Yeah. So yeah, families like that. So yeah. So let's start with then. You said that you were 7 years old when you had your first experiences, and was that something that you remembered on your own, or what's the catalyst to help you remember these experiences?
Well, 7 years old was when I had a traumatic experience, and I had some recollection of what had happened. I had remembered floating down the hall. I had remembered meeting beings, but I didn't have a lot of details. And so by 2015, when I had the regression, I was working with Yvonne Smith. By 2015, I was no longer sleeping. I was in the room, huddled up against the corner, of the bed, against the wall, monitoring the doors and the windows. Lights are on, and just kind of chanting, "Don't leave me alone. Don't come here. Don't, please God, don't bother me tonight. Just let me sleep." And I had months of that, and I was exhausted. And when I sat down with her, I said, I've got to get to the root of this. Can we go to the point where I was traumatized? Because I've got to sleep, and she said, okay. And and that's where I went, was that time at 7 years old when I floated down the hallway. But some of the information was different, which is interesting. I think that it was interesting how my mind changed things to make more sense. It made more sense to remember floating out of my bedroom down the hallway and out the front door. But in the regression, I found out that I floated out of my bed, through my bedroom, into the hallway, and then up through the ceiling. And so my mind, I guess, just couldn't figure that part out on its own without being fully immersed in the moment. And so it was the trauma, the PTSD, basically, that I was experiencing that led me to, I just got to fully get this out and say, yes, I am a contactee, because I'm pretty sure I am. I know I've had a lot of experiences, but I could also be really freaking crazy. So,
well, that's a part of this
yeah.
whole journey, isn't it? Where, maybe you're
Absolutely.
not crazy, but you think that you haven't ever had or talked to anyone else who's had these experiences. So you have to kind of work with them yourself and get to know them yourself and feel them yourself and work them out before you can really start talking about it in some ways. Although talking about it is one of the best ways to help.
Right, exactly. By the time we had finished the regression and I had come out and I had this particular experience, and saw instruments and had all this stuff, and I'm like, this is just really crazy. And Yvonne's like, no, it's not, because I know 2 other people who have described the exact same procedure as you have. And so it's really hard to not deny if there's other people that are experiencing it as well.
Yeah, and also we have a few people commenting on Facebook, and they're saying it's probably cognitive dissonance, and probably you're not crazy. So if there are people out there who've had some similar experiences, and this is just the beginning of Erin's experiences that she's talking about, that more than likely you're not crazy. Okay, that's the first thing they want to do, is tell you you're crazy, because you want to fit it in a nice neat box, right? And it's just not going to fit. Okay, it's just not
Right.
going to
Yeah.
fit. So what you have to do you have to expand your consciousness in order for it to fit? You have to expand your perspective or your awareness, so you educate yourself. What are some of the things that you did to help you know that you're not crazy, but that these things actually did happen, and how you're going to balance them in your world? And one of those is with working with Yvonne Smith, right?
Absolutely. That was really important, and that started a whole cavalcade of things. When I met Yvonne was here in Roswell during one of the UFO festivals. I think it was maybe 2012, 2013, something like that. And at that point, listening to the stories of others and knowing that the things that I had experienced were shared by others. And I just remember after her talk, I was crying and came up to her, and she just gave me the biggest hug, and then gave me information for her support group. And so all of a sudden I had peers. I had others that were understanding and had the similar experiences, and we could talk about it. And all of a sudden it became so much less foreign, and it took that crazy down several notches. Like, well, I'm not the only one. And everything that I'm saying, people are saying they've seen it too, or, they've experienced it as well, or, hey, that's similar to what happened to me in 1937, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
The longer I was in the group, the more people I got to know, and the closer those relationships, and it continues. I'm meeting more and more people every day. And every time I meet somebody, I feel more like myself.
Yeah.
It's like you take off the layers. Like, it's okay to be me.
Right.
And
And part of
yeah,
that healing, you get healed and it's okay.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's why I used that particular title, Dirty Little Secret, because I had been carrying it around for so long. And then moving into a professional work environment as a counselor, like, oh my gosh, what if I get fired? What if I get fired for revealing this? And I had some serious fears, but at the same time, it was, oh well, I have to do this anyways.
And so what happened when you did bring it to I read it in your book, when you did uh, tell your person at work about your experiences?
Everything was fine. Actually, I told one person at work one time and found out that he was also a contactee and hadn't talked about it in years, and so that was exciting. And then when the book was released itself, like half the staff, I'm pretty sure, bought the book, and I've signed several copies, and it made me feel kind of famous in a small room. Basically, it was kind of weird. Like, yeah, sure, I'll sign your book. This is weird, but and then talking to my current boss about it, he's, his thing is you're not the craziest person on staff, is what he told me. And I was like, wow, that's good to know. and so that again showed me that this is exactly what I was supposed to do. I really didn't need to worry about it. However, I know that several people do. Not everybody is in as accepting of environment as I am.
Right. Well, that's one of the things you learn, right? Is discernment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Because that takes a while to develop that. But it doesn't take too long before you get discernment of who and when and where you tell your story.
Right, and sometimes it's just this strange knowing, like I did with the one guy at work. It was random. You know what? I'm going to be on a TV show in a few days, and it's going to be about this. How do you feel about it? And oh my gosh, I can't believe you said that, because I've had this stuff happen to me, and that really gave us a place to talk about these things too. And he needed that support himself.
Yeah. I have a question here from Stacy, and she says, I have heard that MK Ultra kids were implanted with memories of UFO contact. Do you have any comment on this?
I don't even really know what MK Ultra is. I've heard the term. I'm not. I don't know what it means.
Okay. Okay. Well, there's your answer, Stacy. We're not going to go there tonight. But if you do, I have a wonderful friend, Solaris Blue Raven. She has a show here on Revolution Radio. And if you want to know anything about MK Ultra, she's the one. She's your contact for that. Okay, Stacy? So you'll have to look up Solaris Blue Raven and the Witching Hour. And she talks all about that. And she's an expert on that subject. So you can go to her. And she is amazing. But so let's talk then about your abductions and the alien hybrid program. Shall we just jump right in?
Oh, sure. The questions of the hour. Yeah. So when I, through that regression at the age of 7, my memories are of waking up and seeing a being right beside the bed. I felt that it was a female, even though there's no outer indications that we would understand. And she felt very familiar to me. She was one of the, I use little quotes with my hands, a gray type. I don't know where they're from or anything like that. She had the large head, the large eyes, thin body, arms and legs. excuse me, about 3.5, 4 feet tall. And there were two other beings, inside the room, one at the foot of the bed, and I think one closer to the door. And the one at the foot of the bed kind of put his hand on my foot, and just that touch allowed me to lift up, and they, as a group, guided me into the hallway. And there was a beam of light that we kind of floated up into, and that's when I went through the ceiling. And the most amazing and incredible feeling of my molecules slipping through the solid material as I descended into the sky, out through the roof and into the sky, this beam of light up to a ship. And once we were into the ship, I was guided into almost like an exam room. It looked like a dentist office, not, like a doctor's office. It was dentist because I was put into a chair. I was strapped in. I was relatively calm at that point, kind of curious as to why I had to be held down. Like they were putting me in, strapping my hands and my feet, and one across my forehead. I can't really remember. I think something across my chest. And then it was at that point that another type of being walked in the room. He was extremely tall, very, very thin arms and legs and torso. And I still to this day cannot see his face, but I know that there was something moving around his mouth, like mouth parts, mandibles, something like that. And whatever it was about this creature scared me so bad that I started to freak out, and they had to calm me down enough to have this procedure. And that is when they inserted an implant into the roof of my mouth. And the implant itself looked like a biological mass. It was kind of floppy, kind of pink. I don't know if there was anything metal inside. I don't know why it would look like that. I don't know. But it was inserted with a fork type of device with two prongs into the roof of my mouth. And after he left the room, I calmed down completely. They kind of patted me on the head, took me to the window to look at the earth down below, and that's all I remember, really. And I woke up in the bed the next morning.
Wow, that's huge. That's just huge. So, and you talk in your book about that there's one being more of a female that kind of helps calm you down.
She has been with me many times. I haven't experienced her like in the last few years, but that doesn't mean that she hasn't been around. It very well could be that I just don't recall her presence, but she's popped up several times.
And so, also where you don't want to go to the dentist is a part of this as well.
I really ought to go to the dentist. I know that I need to go to the dentist, but I do not want to go to the dentist. And that is, because that room reminded me of it, the chair looked like it, and that's all trauma stuff. Avoidance of external reminders like that is one of the symptoms. I diagnose PTSD all the time. And yeah.
And so, this was when you're 7 when this happened? Did I get that right? When this first...
Yes, I was.
Wow,
yeah, I was 7 years old.
Do you think also that did it turn on any kind of... What are some of the other symptoms? Did it turn on psychic abilities? Did you ever have those abilities? And you were taught different things on the ship?
I was, I actually had abilities appearing by the age of 2. So, I was telepathic at that age. I knew people's names without them telling me, things like that at the age of 2. There is a very brief flash of memory that I have at 4 years old on ships. So, 7 was the trauma, and I just have this tiny little vision at the age of 4, being on a ship in a room that was very white, very sterile. I was sitting on the floor with several other children. We were manipulating blocks in the air in front of us. And an older boy walked by the door and said, "You're for me," and which seemed weird at that time, and disappeared. And that's all I remember is just, maybe 3 seconds of a memory. Yeah. So there's there's so much left to explore.
There is, and I know I know for me too. I'm sure with you that you know when you see people whether they've been on a ship or not, because there's just a knowingness between each other. Do you get that ever?
Oh, yes, all the time. There are so many people I meet and like, I know you. And there's so many people that meet me and they're like, it's you. Like, I don't know you.
Right.
Yeah, we went to high school together. That's impossible. I was a mother by the time you were in high school and I didn't grow up here. It doesn't work that way. But, later on, find out, yes, they are contactees. Probably one of the strongest moments of recognition like that was in 2018, again at the Roswell UFO Festival. We were doing an experiencer group that Yvonne hosts every year, just so experiencers can get in and get some support. And I stood up to talk. I went to the front of the room, grabbed the microphone, turned around, looked straight into the eyes of this man, and thought, I know him and I love him like he's a family member of mine, like an uncle or something. And it was so strange feeling. And then later on, I found out that was Terry Lovelace. And he and I have been close and talking, and he's the one that really lit the fire under me to get this book done. So
yeah, I love that. I love Terry. I had the privilege of meeting Terry at the UFO Con, Lorian Fenton's UFO Con in February of 2020. And oh my God, I knew him just like you did. I just knew him. We just knew each other.
Those eyes.
It was, so I'm just, you just know him. You just feel that. And my friend who's been traveling with me, she goes, "What's this about ERIN?" And I'm thinking, we probably know each other, ERIN. There's that feeling. There's something there. Because when my dear friend Eric Mitchell said, I think she would it would be good to have her on your show. And I'm thinking, yeah, without even thinking, without even hesitating, right? It was just boom, 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 and you're here. It was really, really, really cool. And so that kind of gives me an inkling as well that that we might know each other on a ship. So it's very possible.
It is very possible. I think the craziest story I have about somebody recognizing me and I didn't know who they were. I was working in the library in the children's area in the tiny little shelves. I was pulling something up, so I was sitting down really low, and a man had come in to ask a question, and I peeked around the corner of the thing to see what he needed, and he stopped dead in his tracks, said, "Oh my God, it's you," and ran in the other direction. And I'm like, wow, okay, I don't understand that, but I do attribute it to contact.
Yeah.
I can't think of any other reason that would happen. I didn't know that, man.
Right. Wow. And so when you're on, can you talk, can you describe the ship, like with a dentist chair, is that kind of like what they call like a jump seat, right? Where you, I didn't find out about that term till much, much later, but that it kind of is like a jump seat. Do you have any recollection of that on that, in that dentist chair?
Well, you said that and it kind of jogged something, but I've never heard that term. Really, it sounds like something on a ship. It makes sense.
Yeah.
But to me, it just felt like very dentisty. It was leaned back, but you're in a seated position. The room itself looked clinical, like there was shelves and things, and I don't know if this was just my mind's way of making sense of where I was. But oftentimes I do see like countertops and shelves and drawers and things like that. So it's a common sight for me.
Yeah. Did they teach you or show you like by opening up like a screen or did they give you experiences to teach you while you were there?
Not at that time. I don't remember anything else with that. And they could have, and I just don't have that recall at that moment. However, later on, yes, I know that I was taught very much. I don't remember ever a screen coming down, but I do remember being in a room again with other children, and there'd be like podium. It's a huge room, almost like a gymnasium,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like a geodesic dome. So this huge high ceiling, and the ceiling is in like a honeycomb pattern, and around the honeycomb is either red or blue, like piping, is what it looks like to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see the stars above it. And around the room are these podiums, and behind the podiums are these beings that are like teachers. And the teacher that I have there, I still have experiences with him, which is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
He was a very tall, white-skinned creature with an elongated head sideways instead of like backwards, if that makes sense, like a football.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you think like Stewie on Family Guy, and then really large, round, dark eyes, and he always wears a suit, like a jumpsuit. Almost looks like a wetsuit, either blue or black, it depends.
Wow.
And he was teaching me. He taught me things like how to manipulate gravity. I could float and fly around and move around, and that was a lot of fun. He taught me about using the energy centers in the body, the chakras. That's about all I can remember from the age of 11. I actually did a regression on this moment as well.
Ooh.
And I got to this point where he was teaching me about the chakras, and the energy just increased and increased and increased. And I was vibrating so much, and Yvonne would say, "What happens next?" I'm like, "I don't know. I can't go any further than here." So there was like, boom, that's all the information you're going to get today. Do not collect go, or do not collect your money, go directly go, whatever, and I was done.
Yeah.
And came out of the regression at that point.
Yeah.
So I have been taught many, many things on ship.
And I'm going to ask you a silly question, but I get the feeling, so I'm going to go with it. Do you have any sort of a smell that you smelled on the ship? Some people say that. I just wondered with you.
I'm not sure if I smell it on the ship or if I've smelled it when the beings are near, and what I smell is a very earthy smell, like you get a handful of dirt and you breathe it in. Very organic smell.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Interesting, isn't it? All of it is like, because you want to you want to analyze it and take it all apart so you can put it back together so you can live with it.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so then let's go with our talk about the inside of the ship and with your teachers. And do you feel like you had a guardian the whole time, one guardian that kind of stayed with you the whole time till now, or do you just have some that come and go?
I think honestly, they come and go,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't remember that female being with me over the last 5 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
She hasn't been around for a long time. Actually, the last time she was with me was a very yucky experience, and it makes me wonder why she was there for that, or if they just made me think it was her. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many different things that it could be. You just never know, and that's what makes it so hard to work through. Is what is real? What are projections? What are things that my mind just can't comprehend? So, and these things get very complex. But the teacher creature, that's interesting. Teacher creature, I actually named him Roland for whatever reason. He's Roland to me, and I continue to have experiences with him.
Yeah. Wow, it's just fascinating that, because it's like having another life within this life. You have your life on the ship, and then you have your life here in 3D in this reality as well. And then to combine those and go back and forth takes some time and some patience and some love for yourself, right? Where you learn to love yourself
Absolutely.
through all of this.
Right. And it actually requires a job where you have mental health days. I have yet to find one of those.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, time out. I need a timeout,
Exactly.
And some downtime too. It's kind of like, that part where they say they won't give you too much so that your mind doesn't fold. And so your mind does need that structure, right, in order
Absolutely.
to incorporate all this. And how did you do that?
Recently I did send out that information to them. I think it was like at the beginning of August, because I was having so much activity, like 3 times a week, and I was exhausted. My body was exhausted, my mind was exhausted, and I told them, listen, I can't do this right now. There's too much, and things have died down a lot.
Oh, that's good.
I've had maybe a couple of experiences in the few months, and not almost every night. And oh my gosh, can I please just sleep? And then I had a thing like, okay, you guys can take me, but when you bring me back, you've got to do it in a way that I get a full night's sleep, because I got to work.
Right.
And I'm really struggling right now. So, and that worked for a while too. So, they work with you. They listen.
Right. Well, and sometimes when you wake up and you're just exhausted, right? Like you
Oh,
must have been
yes.
doing something all night, but you don't remember what it was, but you're like totally exhausted, and then you have to go to work.
Right, exactly. I woke up the other day feeling so hungover. I had this terrible headache, dry cotton mouth, didn't even drink last night. That is not fair, guys. Not fair.
It's
If I'm going to
not.
feel like this, I had better have had fun the night before. But no.
Well, I would like to go into then the hybrid program, and it's a subject that's a little difficult for people to talk about, but the more we talk about it, the less difficult it will be to talk about it. So I would like
Right.
to talk about this with you, and also about phantom pregnancies as well. I
Uh-huh.
think a lot of the women that are listening, and the men too, but it's where I think a lot of women can relate to this. It's like we're not allowed to talk about it. So I want to take that lid off, and let's dive in, and I'd love to talk about your
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
experiences.
I am open
Mm-hmm.
to talk about any of it. Uh, Not holding back anything.
Yep. And then they can read it in your book too. And so you
True.
write it beautifully in your book. But I would like to talk about when you had your first pregnancy, or when you thought that you were pregnant, and how um, that journey began and ended.
I have, most of my adult life I have 2 children that are, physical in here, and I've been able to raise and everything. And so I know what it feels like to be pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
And time again through my life, I have had all of these symptoms, like, well, my breasts are swollen and they hurt, and I have to pee all the time, and I can't lay on my stomach because it feels weird. And the exhaustion you feel with at the point where it starts to implant in your uterus, and just being so worn out, and like, I think I'm pregnant, and time after time after time, I'm not. There's, pregnancy test says I'm not pregnant, and then, after a while, I'm fine. But this has been a recurring theme for the last 20 years or so, 25 years. And recently, okay, maybe not too recently, it's been a couple of years, like 2018, it was when it really was driven home, um, because I really felt like I was pregnant, and I had even told my husband at the time, like, I think we were newlyweds, like, well, I think that I may be pregnant. And oh my gosh, that was an awful thing to say. But then I went to sleep, and he was sleeping next to me. I dreamed of giving birth, and the baby was named Wesley Bertram. And I thought, that is the most ridiculous name I've ever heard of. I would never name a child that, but I named him that at that time. And I woke up in the morning and reached over to wake up my husband, and I felt something cold on my arm between us, and I looked at it, and it was a business card for my own support group that I've created for experiencers. And how it got in the bed, I don't know. It's absolutely ridiculous for this card to be in the bed. And I was like, son of a gun, thank you for the calling card. Now I know exactly what happened. And come to find out that my husband had a dream that same night in which he was on ship and he was looking at the tanks with the babies and being told, this is your child. So the synchronicity there was too much to be ignored. And I thought back over all of the other dreams that I've had of giving birth. And even giving birth and then naming the baby. And so many of those dreams, the babies are so tiny, they're like thumb size.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I understand now, there's about a 3-month incubation period before they're taken in. And I'm pretty sure that's an accurate size for the baby at the time. And in so many of those dreams, I am allowed to, I name the baby, I play with the baby, I love on the baby, and then I wake up. Sometimes I see the child again later on. Like one, I remember her, the little thumb baby, thumb size, and I named her Nicolette. And then, a couple years later, I'm introduced to her again on ship, and her name is Nicolette. It's still Nicolette, and she was a toddler. She had wispy blonde hair and big dark eyes, and head was a little bit too big for her body. But and so I knew what was going on at that point. I've seen enough documentaries. I understand that, yes, they do this.
Do you have any idea about how many children you do have on board?
Oh, goodness. A lot.
Yeah.
I would say probably more than 20.
It's not unusual. If you're listening to
Right.
this for the first time, it's really not that unusual, right?
No, it is not. And if you think about how often, every 3 months, if there's a new fertilized egg introduced into the system, that's how many a year, and then you've got so many years, and yeah, you can have many, many children.
And so you feel like you are a part of then a breeding program.
Absolutely. I do believe that I am part of the breeding program. And, the main thing that I understand with this breeding program is that these children need the love of their parents. They have to have it to thrive. And so that is always a really large part of this experience. Just a few months ago, I had, maybe even just a month ago, I had one of those experiences where a baby was, I don't know, I use the word harvested a lot, but, the baby was born. I named her Chandra, something like that. And at the point that she was born, I introduced her to 5 other children, and we had like a full bonding experience, all of us together. And I woke up like, oh, there's another one. Congratulations, Mom. You've got another baby, and her name is Chandra. And so it really is that bonding and that important time together. I have started experiencing now times where I am taken on ship to bond with babies that are not mine because their mothers have rejected them. And so it has really driven home the connection, the importance of the connection between a mom and the baby with this. And even if that wasn't my child, they still needed that love. And me being the person I am, I'm not going to deny anybody that kind of love.
Right. So love is that connection, right? No matter
Absolutely.
what, we're the one connection. Did you get to see Wesley later as he grew on the ship?
I have, as far as I know, I have not, but that doesn't mean I haven't. I don't remember.
Okay. And we have a question from Neil, and he asked, any signs physically of repeated pregnancy from your doctors? Do you have any kind of...
Not that I have been told, no.
But women know, right? It's an instinctive feeling that you just know. You feel it. I know that feeling where you're just all bloated and all of those things that you describe, and then it's just gone, right? It's just gone.
Right. And oftentimes, this gets, personal and kind of creepy, but the periods that I would have during those pregnancies were extremely light. I would, but they would almost be it was very little. And that's possible during you know, it could not be true. Who knows? And I don't have physical evidence, but I know.
Right.
And I have these dreams and I have these experiences, so I'm pretty sure it's real.
Yeah, yeah. And you're not the first and the only one either. Okay. That's always
Right.
helpful.
Exactly. Right.
You know,
Exactly.
I bet if you got in a group like a big conference, without COVID, and I bet it had women raise their hand, I bet a majority of the women would raise their hands. If they
Oh yeah.
really were able to really look at it honestly and not in fear, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We had a question from Susan, and she asked, is it important to know what it is that we are all here? So, um, why do you think they are doing the breeding program? What's your hit on that? Or do you have an opinion on that? Or I would like your opinion on that.
There are so many different ideas floating around my head about why. Perhaps these are us humans from the future. That's a thought that comes in my mind, and maybe they just can't reproduce and they need an infusion of older DNA. I don't know. Maybe their own species cannot procreate and they need to have some sort of DNA infusion and the addition of human whatever we have that they want. I don't know. An interesting thing that came out of a talk that I was doing yesterday was perhaps these beings are so evolved that they've become very detached from their souls. That was an idea that popped up, and the guys that I was talking to said, I know it was UFO Garage, Ben and Joe on there, and
Yeah,
they said,
yeah.
well, what if they are taking people's souls? I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. Why don't we think about this as a soul infusion? Because these babies obviously do have a soul, but so do the moms that the babies are taken from. It's not taking of a soul. It's like the addition of a soul and bringing that spark of light and an idea of love back into their species, perhaps. And that kind of resonated with me as we were thinking about it last night. But ultimately, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
no one
know.
knows yet, but we're going to break it by having these talks and by you speaking your truth and by people coming forward and telling their experiences is how we're able to put these pieces together. If they keep us alone and isolated, then that's not going to help anybody. So by listening
Right.
to you, I mean, just sometimes one little piece and then everything comes together. So it would be interesting. And do you feel that the generations before you, that this is something that all the women in your generations have been a part of? What's your hit on that?
I'm not sure. With my family, my aunt never spoke of anything like that. My cousin Westland doesn't talk about that. Oops, I probably shouldn't have said her name. She's going to get mad at me. But she doesn't have any. Well, she hasn't told me about any of those experiences. And so the ones who have actually been more vocal have been the males, but nothing along the lines of a breeding program. And so I don't have like any familial information about that, but I have several friends who say the same thing. I've got a real close friend who is older than I am, who, when I told her a few months ago, like, my body is exhausted, I cannot do this anymore, I feel like a freaking factory. She said, this is what happens right before not puberty, right before menopause, because they're just trying to get as many out as quickly as they can before they can't anymore, because your body will be done with that part. Like, okay, but I need a break. And that's why I said that my body is exhausted and it needs to not be pregnant right now. Can we stop for a bit? So I'm hoping that they listen to that.
Well, yeah, and it's the unknown that we're here to look at and be a part of that. And if we know that's happening not to you but to many women all over the planet,
Right.
not just the USA or from other Australia, I know for sure from a friend there that this breeding program has been coming on board, at least during your generation, we know for sure. But I like that you just tell the truth. I don't know. We don't know. And maybe some of our listeners have some answers as well, right? where they can, talk with you, and you're willing to, let's talk about this, let's put it on the table, and they can reach you at on your Facebook page, or at your website, right? Your wonderful website that I
Right.
posted,
Right.
and they can
Yeah.
talk to you best there. Would that be the best place for them to continue this conversation about the alien hybrid program and what they're
Absolutely. Yeah.
doing with
Either
this?
either place. I mean, I am open for conversations through my just ERIN Montgomery on Facebook, but also Dirty Little Secret itself has its own little page, so you can contact me through there. And absolutely, you can leave comments on the website, and I check those daily.
Great, great.
I have a partner with the website, and he looks at those things too. But if it says ERIN before, ERIN, here's some information. He doesn't mess with those. So
Yeah, I think we opened it up. I'll help follow that as well. Okay, so
awesome,
we'll
very
put
good.
that in so it's Dirty Little Secrets on Facebook, that you can go and we can continue that conversations for of this. If you have any experiences yourself that we could talk about, would be great. There it is. Dirty Little Secret. Dirty Little Secrets. There's several there.
Dirty Little Secret. Yeah, just Dirty Little Secret, and then you'll see my picture next to it.
Okay.
Kind of leaning my head on my hand.
Okay. Well, we'll find it. I'll find it here, or maybe you could post it for me on my Facebook page there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great, because I don't want to post the wrong one there. So, yeah, and so, wow, so we're almost to take a break. It's coming up. We will take a break at the top of the hour from if LA time, from 5:57 to 6:04, and then we'll come back and love to continue our talk, ERIN Montgomery, and I'd like to talk about the Blue Room. And I found that fascinating in your book, and so would really love to talk about that when we come back, and how to help those hybrid children. Maybe we'll talk a couple minutes about that, of how do you, so the best way you think you help your hybrid children.
The best way that I've helped the hybrid children, I think, is just being present and open with them, and just being in the moment and loving them and having fun and connecting. And that is what is needed. That is what is wanted. And I don't know any other way to work with them. It's not like I can, teach them their letters. We don't talk about manners or anything like that. It's just in the moment with the emotions and just being together. That is the most significant thing for us to do, or at least in my experience.
Yeah, so it'd be like spirit to spirit. It doesn't matter what they look like at all, right?
Right.
It's where you have that connection with them, spirit to spirit, heart to heart, and that whole, the love, it transcends time and space, right?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I know that many of the mothers that are a part of this program have a very hard time with the separation, that they ache and yearn and miss their children. For whatever reason, I do not. And I think that it is the cultivation of that relationship and understanding that we are outside of time, and I am always connected with them in my heart. And yeah, it's just... It's a beautiful thing, and I don't feel any pain at the separation. I don't worry about them. I just love, and that seems the most significant at this time.
Okay, well, we'll stop there. We'll be back for part 2 just after our commercial here. Hang in there. Thank you, ERIN, and we'll stay right where you are, everybody. We'll be right back after this break.
after this message.
Oscar's freeze. That's your cerebral cortex looking for an answer it doesn't have.
See? Even your brain knows you're screwed.
Body's filling with adrenaline right now, whether you know it or not. Your heart's beating fast. It's getting a little harder to breathe. The neurobiological system is telling it to run, but your knees are too weak to move.
Fear is not real. The only place that fear can exist is in our thoughts of the future. It is a product of our imagination, causing us to fear things that do not at present and may not ever exist. That is near insanity. Do not misunderstand me. Danger is very real, but fear is a choice. We are all telling ourselves a story.
You're listening to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. 100% listener-supported radio. Reporting the danger. Unafraid. Right here, where information never sleeps. Revolution Radio!
Join Revolution Radio every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Studio B for Momentary Zen with host Zen Garcia at freedomslips.com, the People Station.
It is no secret that the so-called mainstream media is best described as controlled propaganda. Countless news stories are either totally ignored or spun with half-truths, and because of this, essential facts and vital information are often compromised. Join Dr. Ott every Friday night on Studio B at 10 p.m. Eastern and learn why The Story Behind the Story was nominated for a Peabody Award in its second year of producing unparalleled broadcasting excellence in 1997. That is, if you really care about learning the truth.
All right, thanks for listening while we took that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And now we're going to get back to your host.
Hello and welcome back to the Cosmic Oracle Show. This is your host, Barbara Jean Lindsey, and we want to thank you for tuning in to Revolution Radio and giving generously of your donations to keep us on the air since we're an all-volunteer station. The way you can do that is go to freedomslips.com. That's freedomslips.com. Give $1, $5, $10, whatever you can, to keep us on the air. And with us today at the Cosmic Oracle Show, we have ERIN Montgomery. If you missed that first hour, oh man, you can listen to it again. It'll be on Facebook Live, and then later on the Cosmic Oracle Show, we have a YouTube channel as well, the Cosmic Oracle, and we'll be putting that up there in a couple weeks, along with a whole bunch of other shows we've had in the past. But ERIN Montgomery is on tonight. She's a clinical therapist. And I understand, ERIN, that you just recently started a regression, that you're a regressionist therapist as well, or what's the technical term for that?
Well, I am not doing regressions at this time because I'm waiting for a little bit more training. Yvonne Smith is working on a way to get hypnotherapists trained in doing the regressions with abductees. I want that little bit of information before I go heading off into the vortexes of the mind. However, I do have clinical hypnosis training under my belt at this point. I've done 2 significant trainings with the Milton Erickson Foundation, and I practice currently I'll have clients come to my home and we work on stopping smoking and things like that, reducing anxiety, things like that. But I'm not regressing people yet,
Not
but
quite.
I will.
Well, I must be reading the future. It's in your future, okay?
Awesome.
Well, I mean, what better person to have someone regress you than someone who's been there, right?
Right. And, I know that a lot of people are worried about what if there's a seeded memory put in place. But I think that people who are sincere about the hypnosis and wanting the clear truth to come out without any, perhaps shadows or anything that could create like a fantasy type of memory instead of something that really happened, is going to be very careful with their language during the regression. So,
and so multi-dimensional realizations. You wrote about that in your book, and I would like your take on that, as we humans as a multi-dimensional being.
Yes, oftentimes with experiencers, they're going to have information downloads. I say that with quotes with my fingers, downloads. Some are taught about physics. Some are taught about quantum mechanics. Some are taught about mathematics or religion or ancient civilizations. But the information that is pounded into my brain is about interdimensional travel and how we are more than just who we are right here. And I have been taught grueling in one of those mornings where I wake up and have to call in sick to work because I'm so exhausted about how to create a portal between worlds. And it was like a drill sergeant did it over and over and over again. And it was all with intent, standing in a place, seeing my destination, and then watching the hole open up and crossing into it, and then just doing it over and over again. And through that training and that learning, I am able to, work with a person and be able to see all of their different selves and work with the different selves and heal it. Now, when I say a different self, it would be a colloquial past life. I don't use the word past life because I have this understanding that time does not exist, not in the way that humans perceive it. It is not linear as we perceive it in our everyday lives. And so if there is no time, that means that none of the lives are past lives. They are currently happening right now. Everything is happening now. And so I call them other lives, other selves, different iterations. Iteration is a word that I like to use with this because it's just another one of my iterations. It's me in another place, and I call it a space-time location because, in truth, that's what it is. It is a coordinate point. And, one of my other selves lives in the 1780s in Philadelphia. But that's just her location. That is her coordinate. But we're still living and breathing right now and able to communicate and work with each other. And that is just the amazing stuff that I've been taught.
And so it's an aspect of yourself that you get to work with and own and explore.
Yes, absolutely. My understanding, as far as I have been taught, is there is a soul that is whole, but it will fracture into bits so that it can experience life in many different ways. And, there's me here, there's me in the 1790s, there's me on a different planet in another place. I live underwater. I've got contact with her as well. There's just lives and selves all over the place. And the more awareness we have of each other, the more we can communicate and share and learn and heal and work as a whole. It's like, in my mind, that's what the ascension process is moving from feeling isolated to having access to the group, and then finally ascending back into the whole.
Mm-hmm. So it's definitely a holistic approach.
Yes.
Would you say? Yeah. Well,
Yes.
hey, could you walk us through that? Could you, what would it be like, let's say when you want to time travel and you open up a portal, can you kind of walk us through that briefly? I think our listeners would love that. I would love that.
Well, I would love to have the language for it. I'm not exactly sure how it works. I just know that it works. Let's say, let me talk about, I was doing a past life, again, I don't like the term, but that's what people know it as, a past life conversation with a couple for a podcast about a month ago. And they wanted to have readings done on the air. So I'm like, okay, well, this is interesting. But what I did was just focus on, I was working with the man first. And as I focused on him, I started to receive pictures and images and words. And I was hearing things. At first, it was just black. And I could hear this strange grinding sound, like bones scraping together. And then I realized I was cold. And as I'm like, okay, so I think I am you. I'm seeing you in this time, and I was able to pull myself back. Let me look at the surroundings. I don't need to be seeing out of your eyes. Right. And what I saw was a little boy that was in a pit full of dead bodies and bones, and he was, the blood was in his eyes. He had been injured, and that's why he couldn't see. And it was a forest, and it was snowing, and it was freezing outside. And he was able to say, oh my gosh, okay, so he lost his parents, or his father, when he was a very young child, and so did, of course, so did this little boy in this memory, or this, this past life. And so for me to gather that information, to me, it's like a picture in my mind. It's like I'm watching a movie, and I can manipulate it. Mm-hmm. I'm not physically standing up and walking through the wall to another dimension. However, I just now, as I said that, remembered that I had written something about that when I was a child. What is on the other side of the wall? How funny that just popped into my mind.
I love it. I love it.
Wow. Okay. Refocusing. Yeah. So to me, it's like it's just a movie playing in my mind. But I think that on like an astral level, I am going to that little boy at that time, and I can talk to the little boy, and then I can communicate to the man that I'm working with at the same time. And so that's, maybe that would be better termed as bilocation, perhaps close to remote viewing. Right. I don't have the vocabulary yet to be able to describe this stuff fully, and it's something that I'm actively working on, actually.
I love it. It's kind of like a guardian, or like you're the person, that shows the way shower. And do you think, and it could be, maybe I'm just playing here, but where you, where thought goes, energy flows, and so that's that part of you, that aspect of you that can be there and here at the same time, and hold the space for the person to have that experience and get that information.
Absolutely. Intention is really key here. So if I intend to go to a life that he needs healing for, just like when I start this, it's, what do I need to know? What is most important for him for healing or learning right now? And I'm taken to the point in time, or that space-time location that is the most powerful to the moment.
I love it. I I do something like that as well. You know, and I think it's because that we've had that experience on the ships where you get to be open to all these aspects of yourself, then that you get to use to help not only yourself heal, but then once you're in pretty good shape, right? We're never perfect, but
Right.
and where you get
Right.
to help others, and by helping others, you really do help yourself too. You learn so much about yourself at such a very fast pace.
Absolutely. I think that this is one of the things that I'm absolutely driven to do. And I have spent a lot of time working on myself for sure, healing all these wounds and working on myself. And I never really thought anything about it until recently. And, you know, even with the publishing of the book and so many people telling me, like, you have gone through so much and here you are still helping people. And I'm thinking, well, sure, I went through that stuff and I'm fine. What's more important is, you know, making sure that other people are okay too. And that is really the message that is being driven into my mind right now, is you have to help people work through their traumas and heal, so that we can come together and communicate without any knee-jerk reactions, without any fear reactions, so that we can just get down and talk.
Right, and get past that fear. Fear is the mind killer, right? From Dune, right?
Oh my gosh, I have that book by my bed with that page marked. Absolutely.
Of course you do. Of course you do. Okay.
Of course I do.
We have a beautiful some quotes here from Mika Lucille McDonald, who I happen to know, and she says, "The insight of how you went through the process was very, very powerful." And refocusing, very powerful. And she states, the fact that you're working through how to bring it forth for yourself is really, really powerful for the general population. And I have to agree with her with this work.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm not going to say it's easy.
No. And she said, that's a human process, helping yourself and communicating with others doing the same thing. So that's pretty cool. So, yeah, so we get to change a lot of things while we're here, right?
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah, I tell people, just pick one, okay? Pick one thing. There's so many. Just pick one and stay focused on it, right?
It's hard to do, but yes.
Yeah, I'm glad you're doing this work. And hello to my daughter-in-law, Mika. I love you so much. I miss you. And so let's go on then from this and your work, and I just see you doing amazing work in the future and as well. And one thing that you wrote in 1992, you talk about a safe place in your mind. I love that you found a safe place in your mind with people.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That is something that I have been working on for a long time. I call it, like a sacred inner space. And yeah, I was in high school when I started to work on the bilocation and finding out that I can travel like this. So this isn't just a new development for me. I've been doing this stuff for a long time and trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
And then I realized that I could create a place in my mind where I felt safe, even if in my outward experiences, was not comfortable. And I would use it and explore in it and feel safe in there. And over the years, it has turned into like an online course. I have, incorporated things like how to ground, how to shield, how to cleanse your energies, how to realize that you have loopholes and you've got to continue to cleanse because you're not perfectly safe in your shields. Like, well, I don't like this energy coming in, but it's so-and-so. So then you still get, the energy drained because you've got a loophole. And then, using that sense of safety and protection of yourself in your own mind to start to explore your, like for empaths. Most of us experiences are empaths, and it can be so overwhelming when you have everybody's emotions and pains just flying at you, and you don't even know it's yours anymore and what somebody else's. And so until you get a handle on that and being able to say, well, this is me and that is you, you can use this inner space to keep that at bay until you're ready to explore. It also helps with people who are mediums and staying protected and understanding the information coming in is from the outside, not, you're not just hearing voices. You're not, these entities are not going to make you do things because they can't. They have to, address you in a proper fashion. And when you are ready, then you can communicate with them from within those bounds of safety.
Yeah. You have seniority because you have the body and they don't, right?
Right. Exactly. It really is about sovereignty of self and feeling comfortable in your own skin. And it's really helped with people that have anxiety and PTSD as well, to say, I may not be comfortable where I am, but I know that I'm safe if I focus on how I feel when I'm in this space in my mind.
Mm-hmm. And you have a space to work on things and explore and find answers. By gosh.
Absolutely. I you can create whatever you want in this space. I have a place that is a library, and inside the library is like an Akashic Records. If I want to know something, I'm going to go find it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I've done it time and time again. I have a place in there that is like a healing room, and if I am sick or not feeling well, I go there and administer to myself and can help others as well. I have what I call like a launching pad, and it's a room, a hallway full of doors. And if I don't need this anymore, I no longer need this tool, but I created it so I could understand how to go into the different lives.
Mm-hmm.
And, which life do I need to go to? I knew it would be the door that had the light underneath it, and I would open that door and go into that life. So yeah, there are so many different ways you can do this. And it just is like turning a key and opening up this whole other idea that you can explore so much within your own mind,
right,
and be safe and feel comfortable doing it.
And you usually find out how amazing we are, right? Not how screwed up we are, but how amazing we are.
Absolutely.
Well, so we were talking about rooms, and so I'd like to go to the blue room. I found that fascinating in your book. So let's go to the blue room now, shall we? We'll go to the door and open the door to the blue room. And
that's a pretty raunchy room to go into. It really is. And this is probably one of the latest developments of my contact experiences that I don't fully understand what is happening. And it's just been over the last year. And honestly, I haven't had a blue room experience in a while.
Mm-hmm.
We, a few friends of mine and I who have had similar experiences call it the blue room boom boom, because that's what's going on in there. I don't know if that's where they bring us for the breeding. So, the actual implantation of eggs and things. And,
mm-hmm.
and there's copious amounts of copulation. It's just a lot of sex and it's crazy in that room. It's pretty fun in that room. And you wake up going, wow, that was wild. Who was I with? Was it human? And I've speculated, like, are we who are experiencing it, is it a way to teach the hybrids how to interact with humans on a sexual level? I don't know. That's one possibility. Mm-hmm. Is it part of the breeding program? Like, we want this person's DNA and this person's DNA, so we're going to bring them together and they're going to have fun. Mm-hmm. That has also been speculated, and I think actually maybe a huge part of the truth. But I have, at the beginning of those experiences, I would wake up and be disturbed, like, well, I'm married. Don't they care about that? Mm-hmm. And honestly, my marriage has dissolved. I've got my divorce date, for a few weeks down the line. And I'm not going to say it's directly related to the blue room experiences, however it very well may be.
Mhm.
The Blue Room experiences opened my eyes to the fact that I was not happy
In this 3D reality.
in this 3D reality in that marriage. I was not happy. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. And so that's a good thing.
Yes, I think it was a good thing. It was a harsh reality at the time,
Hmm.
but yeah. So it's always blue in that room. It's like a glowing blue light, um, and the room is again very sterile. And there's multiple people in there. There's just a whole lot of fun going on in that room.
Yeah, Neil says, I think it's them putting us together on the ship.
I think so. I think so.
Hmm.
And I know one person in particular that I've had experiences with in there because he recognized me too. I mean, I have several tattoos, and I showed him one that I have on my back. He's like, "Oh, I know who you are," you know. So, yeah.
Let's switch gears. Let's talk about. Um, I'd like to talk a little bit more about you and your healing abilities to heal people energetically. I'd like to talk about that for a little bit. Um, because just by doing the work that you're doing as a therapist, but also as a healer.
Right. During working hours, I don't most of the time don't delve into the spiritual, and I just stay on the clinical level.
Mm-hmm.
Unless somebody has some questions, and if they bring it to the table, oh heck yes, I'm going to dive into it. But after hours, if I'm doing a reading or if somebody comes to me for a healing, a lot of the things that I'm learning as a therapist come into play. Just getting to the bottom of what's bothering them and how. I think that my training as a therapist was absolutely essential for communication with other people. Just because I am an introvert, maybe I didn't have the skills on how to communicate these things, or even feel comfortable in somebody else's uncomfortability. I am a Reiki master, so that has helped as well. It's like an extra reinforcement of love energy that flows and heals. But when I say that I heal energetically, a lot of it is going into those different selves and lives and moving the energy around. Like, this person is injured and needs support and healing so that yourself here in this life and in this world is not impacted by that, because they do tend to pull and hurt. And I know that a lot of people have experiences with that. Like, why am I afraid of water? Well, that's because you drowned.
Mm-hmm.
and so being able to heal that person, that soul bit that has drowned, relieves that pressure on the person here. Or if I had a good friend come to me that was struggling in love, and she would find herself in dangerous and emotionally abusive relationships, and was tired of the cycle. And so I put her actually in like a light trance state, and we used Reiki, and I walked her back into a life in which she was a young girl. This is going to be like medieval Spain, maybe Renaissance time, maybe 13, 14, 1500s. I don't know. Anyway, she was about 13 years old, and her father married her off, basically sold her to this very older man. She was 13, he was probably in his 40s, and he was extremely cruel. And he basically tortured her, just did awful, awful things to this poor child, and really crushed her spirit. And because that part of my friend's self had been so crushed and hurt, it was affecting her now. And so that little girl needed to be healed and protected and saved, basically, and restored to wholeness after her death, so that my friend could move forward and learn to love and grow and not be in that pattern. And she is currently not in that pattern, and I'm very happy to see that.
Yay! It's amazing how when you do that, right? That they are able to bring back some energy, bring back the information so that they can heal themselves this lifetime and not get stuck.
Yes, absolutely. And it's not always, another life. Sometimes it's in this life. And, when something awful happens to us, oftentimes a bit of ourself will dislodge and stay in that trauma time. And eventually we get to a point in our lives where we really need to move forward, but we can't. And so what I will do is go back and find those little bits of self and return them to the owner so that they can incorporate it and heal completely and then start to move forward.
I love it.
Along with this goes, with those little bits of self that detach, sometimes other people's bits of self can attach to us.
Exactly.
Or other entities or, even interdimensional beings. And oftentimes I will remove those attachments from people. That can be fun.
Yeah. Well, and have you seen much with implants or anything like that?
I have not done a lot of work with implants, honestly. It's something that I'm interested in doing for sure.
Yeah, it's like a whole different cosmology, right? In some ways.
Absolutely. Yeah. And, as far as my implants go, I have so much information that I receive from the implants. I don't think I would know how to function without them at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like regressions maybe a good idea, and then maybe like with Steve Colburn, who he removes implants and works in that field as well. So yeah, so I would like to go to, because it's October, and it's the season. I'd like to talk about unhaunting houses.
It's all in the same vein, and it's all stemming from the understanding of the different realms and vibrations and dimensions and things. Because when a person passes away and their spirit detaches from the physical body, sometimes they don't go, ascend higher, and or some of them does, and then those really heavy bits, those little bits that I was talking about earlier that can attach to a person, will stay here, and they can wreak havoc on things. So if you've got a haunted house or whatever, and I walk inside, I can feel it and then return those bits or help send those beings who are stuck here on to where they need to go. And again, it's just intention, like where does this person need to go, and it will go to, oftentimes the full self, the bit of soul that has ascended to that higher realm will come back and take that part and say, oops, sorry, I left this here, and own it and take it. And activity will stop in the home.
Yeah, it changes. Isn't it amazing that it just changes the energy, and it doesn't even feel, or where a house will feel so dark and so dense and so little, and then you clear it and it's like bright and it's open, and it's like, from 800 feet to 4,000 feet, kind of like that. I don't know. It's kind of like
Absolutely.
that, So, yeah. And so do you work with spirit guides when you're doing this work, or do you have a team with you that comes with you, or?
Yes.
We have a whole nother show, right? We can have a whole nother show on that.
Right. Yeah. I often work with angels. That is just something that I have learned to do over the years, especially when it comes to helping somebody cross, and especially if they don't want to and they're being belligerent, then I will call in for reinforcement. I work with, ETs oftentimes will be with me doing these journeys and helping me. And then I have kind of come to understand spirit guides as being these different iterations of myself. There are some that are very strong in their spiritual abilities and will work with me and come with me and help me in the moment. So there's all sorts of levels of beings that will help me with these things. If I'm going to say, like with my friend who's 13, that 13-year-old self was just utterly crushed and destroyed by this cruel man, I knew I was going to have to in a way, battle this guy because he had a piece of her soul and he wasn't going to give it back. And so with me on those things, I'll notice like an army. And for whatever reason it is like a Zulu army that will come with me. And yeah, we will go and kick some butt and return people's energy that needs to have it.
So you're telling me you're a badass on the inner planes.
I try to be.
If it's,
I would like to be known as a badass on the inner plane. Yeah.
yeah, you got to put that on your card, okay?
Inner plane badass. Maybe
Yeah.
I've been working on, like, how do I rebrand myself? Well, maybe that's what I am.
Well, but sometimes it takes what it takes, right? Because you're able to call forth whatever it's necessary to help this person to not only heal them, but to take them to their next steps of their beingness.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes that comes with some very scary and forceful things. And I'm certainly not that way in person.
Right.
You know,
right.
like I'm pretty passive and like, okay, what else can you tell me about that? You know, that's my waking life. But and on the other side is like, you ain't doing that. I'm gonna
Not on your
fix
watch,
this.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Would you like to tell a story? Like, what's your latest? A day in a life of your work and as a therapist.
Okay. Let's think. Just these last few weeks have been really busy for me. So I will wake up in the morning, usually really exhausted because I've been doing something on the astral planes, but I oftentimes don't know what. So I wake up exhausted. I get to work, and I work from 8 to 5 with different clients, doing different things. I do carry crystals with me often, like a selenite that will help, erase the negative energies that may form between myself and the client, just because they are dealing with so many emotional and, oftentimes very traumatic and disturbing and things. So I need to help keep myself clear of that, because I will take it, because I am a natural healer, and healers take that energy, but you got to remember to release it. So that's why I use the crystals at that point in time. And then lately I've been coming home, and I'll either have a radio show or I will have a healing or a reading right after I get home. And so I have a few minutes to take off the work day and then to put on this, what I call this is my real job, is this stuff here. Right. This is what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And I'm either doing a tarot reading, or I'm doing, working with these past lives or these other selves, and doing healings that way. Sometimes I will have people coming in for Reiki. That has actually really picked up for me lately. I'm not sure why, but hey, keep bringing it in. And oftentimes while, during the Reiki session, just doing any other healings that need to be done as I see as necessary, and reporting back to the people what it is that I experienced while, laying on of hands. So that, and then I will try to unwind, and oftentimes by then I'm so exhausted I can barely drag myself to bed, and then I'm off doing whatever other work that I do while I sleep. That is a day in the life of ERIN Montgomery at this time.
Do you find that you meditate? Do you meditate at all? Is that something that's important for you?
I have been told over and over and over again recently that I need to, but I haven't found the time to.
So self-care, let's talk self-care, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Self-care is not necessarily at the top of my list right now. It needs to be.
Right.
This week has been a really rough week, and yes, I am really dragging, but that's okay. I know that all of this work that I'm putting in now is going to be bringing me what it is that I need in order for me to actually let go of the 8 to 5 and move fully into this. And this is that is my dream, that is my goal, and that is what I feel like is needed for me to do at this time.
Yeah, it's what you came here to do. It's your real work, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. So you're paving the future for others to value this. It is something new, and by talking about it, where we can, have people take a look at getting a Reiki healing or any of those services that you offer to the public, and uh, and that it's something that you came here to do and that you've been helped along the way. So it's something in a way that hasn't been done before. Or if it has, we certainly didn't talk about it.
Right. Yeah. I wished over and over in my life that, can somebody please just come and teach me about what I'm supposed to be doing? I have not found any mentors except for little short bits of time. Let me teach you this. Let me teach you that. And so I've gained little bits of information, but I've never been taken by the hand and led through any serious training. Like I say that I'm a shaman, but to me that is like the only thing that I can come even anywhere close to describing what it is that I do to help people. There's really not a word at this point in time that I can figure out like, oh, this is what I am.
Right.
This is what I do. These are what my ability set is. I just use the word shaman because it makes the most sense. The one who walks between the worlds. I mean, yeah, that's kind of me.
Yeah,
but I know that a lot of shamans go through trainings. They have mentors on all of these things that they do. I don't have that. And so it makes me often question, like, am I qualified to do these things? Should I be doing that? Yes, absolutely, I should. And I've come about, I've gathered all the little bits of information over the years from others, and definitely the teachings of the ETs, and kind of meshed it all into one. And like, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And yeah.
Well, and so we're exploring. You're explorers, right? But also you've been kind of acclimated to this since you were born, because you've been on the ships. Kind of the ships have helped you. That's your certificate, your certification, right? In some ways.
That's right. Graduated from the ET Academy.
Right, ET Academy and then some. Because then you have the third dimension. You have all your life experiences here that, from reading your book, are really intense experiences. And like I know a lot of empaths and a lot of teachers and healers that what they had to go through to kind of feel like what it is to be human. Because we come from such a off-planet perspective in some ways.
Absolutely. It is not easy to be a human. I don't know if, like, a normal human is comfortable being human, but I personally really, really struggle here. My body doesn't work the way I want it. It doesn't respond the way I think it should. It is really heavy. It is really dense. It likes things that it's not supposed to have, like sugar. And I really struggle, and it hurts. I ache all the time. It's humidity just kills me. Sinus infections all the time. And it's just really hard. And people's emotions are so loud.
I love that. I'm going to use that quote. People's emotions are so loud. I love that. I've never heard that before. And that is so right on the money there.
and yeah, so it's taken, well, I'm not going to say that I am completely integrated at this point either. And I've often wondered throughout my life, like, I understand that I am a human, but am I a human? I'm not a human.
Right. And isn't that,
and it was confusing.
It's a tripped out state of being. I mean, when you figure it out, oh my God, I'm a star being in a human body. That's a whole other huge door opening, right? And how you acclimate that. It's like, holy crap, I got all this other down, I got that down, and now I get this, what's next, right?
Right, exactly. My father told me when I was, I don't know, maybe about 8. So this is after the traumatic experience that I had. It had to have been before 4th grade because I had long hair at the time, and I chopped it all off when I was in 4th grade. So the 8 or 9. Anyways, he told me that he had walked by my bedroom and heard me talking to somebody that wasn't in there. That I was by myself, but I was talking to somebody and told them I just wanted to die. And he was so disturbed hearing that out of a 9-year-old little girl's mouth that he sat me down and had to explain to me the beauties of living on Earth. Like, no, this is, being alive is a good thing, and things like that. He said it was the most surreal moment he's ever encountered. Of course, I have no recollection of that.
Wow.
But I do know it was my desire to go home and be with my family. Not that I don't love my mom and dad, but it was and I think is very much tied to the fact that I was having those experiences and identifying very much with the beings I was with on ship.
Right. I remember just saying, like, they don't do that where I come from.
Right?
Man's inhumanity to man, where we come from, they don't do that.
Right. Oftentimes I find myself contemplating. There's an episode of Doctor Who, and it's the 10th Doctor, so David Tennant, and he has gone through this experience. He's standing on a cliff. I don't remember exactly what episode it is, but he's talking about how absolutely beautiful humanity is, even with its flaws. And I identify so much with that. Him being an alien and saying, look at all this beauty and look at all this potential, and this is so wonderful, and look at what you can do. And I cry every time I see that, because that's how I feel looking from the outside of humanity, which is, being a human is weird, but looking outside of humanity and saying, look at all y'all's potential. This is so amazing. And let's pull it together.
Right. Let's don't take it for granted that it is, we do have such beauty here. And is that a part that a lot of people who are experiencers or contactees also get told, we need to really take care of our planet?
Yes, that is one of the really strong messages that comes through. Take care of the planet, love each other, don't fight, things like that.
Yeah. No more war, right? We'll have a war and no one shows up.
Right.
Is that, if we think it's a possibility, right, as a collective?
I think absolutely it could be a possibility, and I'm seeing the collective kind of turn on over the last few months with COVID at this point, because it's just being permeated. I hear it all over the place. Of course, on Facebook, most of my stuff is following these spiritual people, and everybody's talking about it. They've all got followers, and it's just spreading and spreading. And I see this as extremely important. The more people, focus on love and kindness and spread it to others, it's going to change the entire planet.
So we do have hope and inspiration for a beautiful, peaceful future.
I absolutely do. Absolutely do.
And do you have any of your guides, or were you shown anything like this? I know some people have had experiences on ships where they actually show a relationship with the earth.
I have no recollection of being on ship and being shown these things, but I have had plenty of nightmares about natural disasters and things like that, nuclear war. Some strange chemical warfare dream that I had right before COVID broke out, which is interesting. I have those, and I know many experiencers have those kinds of dreams. But being on a ship and being told about it, I don't know. Maybe I was on ship, and that is the information I received, and it came down as a dream when I woke up. Like, oh, I had this weird dream. So I don't know. It's hard to tell.
It is. Well, tell us how living in Roswell, New Mexico. How did you end up there? I just love that.
It wasn't my choice.
Oh.
I did not want to be here. I did not want to be here. I was living in Las Cruces, which is, the college town that I was in right out of high school. I got married. I had 2 kids, but we were struggling so bad. I would have been 25 at the time that we had to come and live with my first husband's family. And of course, they lived in Roswell. And here I found myself. For about a year, I refused to learn the streets. Like, I'm not staying here. I can't do this. Of course, this is at the point in time when I first started to understand that I was a starseed, and I was really beginning to see the truth of myself as a contactee. Mm-hmm. And I could not stand the fact that everywhere you turn in this town, there's a little green alien painted on every window, every business. It's all over the place. Even the street lamps on Main Street have little black eyes. And so it was just everywhere. And actually, probably one of the reasons that I was forced into dealing with this. And I honestly think that is some sort of cosmic joke.
Yeah, you can't run from it even, right? It's like if I'm going to go down there, in case I'm thinking about running or hiding, I'm going to land right in the middle of the biggest conference in the world is held there.
Exactly. Exactly. And I moved here in the year 2000, and it took me until 2012 or 2013 to actually start going. Huh. That's how long it took me. Wow. And of course, once I did, boom, my world changed. Mm-hmm. And I honestly think, and I really see this as truth at this point, that this hold, quote unquote, hold that this town has had on me, due to the fact that I have processed things, due to the fact that I have gotten this book out, is proving that I am okay with this process. And I feel like it's the grip is releasing, and I really see a future where I'm not going to have to be here anymore, because I don't want to be here. I never did want to be here.
But you found
this is not how.
But you found your inner peace, right, through this. You went through all this dark spiral, these ups and downs, hills and valleys, and I can feel it in your voice that you found your peace. And my gosh, you did it. It's pretty beautiful to see.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. And I think that at this time, and it's really weird, just over the last week or so, I'm like, I actually see myself leaving. I can feel it. Mm. And it's a very exciting prospect for me.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you're just getting going with your book and with your talks and with your healing work. You're just, you're really in a new place with a pretty abundant future.
I feel that way. And to me, it's exciting. If I can fully move into this spiritual life that I have been longing for so long, I will be over the moon.
Yeah, it's about time. I can tell by reading your book, I really let all of our listeners know that they can go to Amazon.com and purchase your book. And it's called Dirty Little Secrets, Confessions of an Alien Contactee. It's a fabulous book. Highly recommend it. And how can they reach you again? The best way to reach you to book an appointment for a session or a Reiki and you could probably just consult with them, and then you can decide what would be the best way to approach a healing for them. Correct?
Absolutely. That's really how I take it. Like, Erin, I need some help. Okay, so let's see what's going on. What are your concerns? And at that point in time, once I start to hear the concerns, I can understand what direction needs to go. Then I propose it to them, and they can either agree or disagree to go down that route. But absolutely, you can contact me through Facebook. Either, find me under my name, ERIN Montgomery. I posted a link to the Dirty Little Secret Facebook page in the comments. And you can also go to my website, www.peoplesouterdimension.net.
Yeah, it's a great website. I just kind of checked it out a little bit, and I'll put that in the link as well. And for all of our listeners, then um, we want to thank you for coming on the show. It's done. We're almost to the end, and
It's amazing.
it's amazing, isn't it? We like transcended time and space, didn't we, Erin?
I think so. I think so.
So I want to thank you for coming on the show and talking about a difficult subject, the alien hybrid program, um, and I think you helped a lot of people who might be hearing that for the first time, and so I want to thank you for speaking your truth and having the courage to write your book and to explore in this new, would it be phenomena? I don't know what you would call it.
I'm not exactly sure what you would call it. It is a phenomenon, but it's also just a realization that this world is much bigger and much more in depth than people realize.
Mm-hmm.
So it's an expansion.
Yeah, it is. And what's so funny is maybe we can just let go of trying to put a name on it, right? That we can just be in the unknown and feel comfortable with that.
I think that you're very onto something there. I think being okay in this idea of flux and not knowing and just trusting that everything is going to be okay is very important right now.
It is. I think it's our next step. I really do, to get out of the control and the isolation, and that we can step into this whole new way of beingness, which is really more who we are in the first place.
Yes.
Surprise, right?
Yeah. And yeah, when you said control, to me, it's, I control. And it comes from trauma. You want to control everything, and I know that there's outside control, but the internal control has been the biggest struggle for me.
Yeah, there's a real big part of let go in there, right?
Absolutely.
Yay! That's where all the fun is. Well, thanks again for coming on, ERIN Montgomery. I look forward to seeing you someday and hugging your neck and sitting down and talking with Eric Mitchell. I'm in his hometown right now, and he was going to stop by, but I don't know what happened. So I'm sure he has a good story. So thanks again for coming on. And for all of you listeners, thanks for checking out the Cosmic Oracle Show. Next week, I'm going to have an amazing person on, as usual. And I'm kind of going with the flow. Whatever spirit brings me and takes me there, I just kind of scope it really fast. And then so far, it's been working out over the years. Please go to my website, barbarajeanlindsey.com. Check out my book. It's on Amazon, Dying for the Light, talking about my experiences there. And have a great week. And I'm not going to tell you to stay safe, because everybody's saying that here, and I just can't stand that. What do you think about that, Erin? Stay safe. What else could we say besides stay safe?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't really like that either. I think that it's know your limits.
Know your limits. Okay. And love one another, right? And trust one another.
Absolutely.
And where we go together, right?
All of that. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so thanks everyone for tuning in to the Cosmic Oracle Show. We'll be back next week, every Friday, 5 to 7 LA time, Eastern time, 8 to 10. I don't know who I'm going to have on. I have some ideas, and we'll see if that all pans out. I'll be on the road. I'm in Hot Springs, Arkansas. I don't know where I'm going to be next Friday, actually. I don't have an idea at all of where I'm going to be or where this show's coming from. But I can tell you that I'm going to partake of some of the hot water here at Hot Springs, Arkansas, and it's going to be medicinal, and I'm going to make some beautiful elixirs. So, all right, everyone, have a great week. I love you lots. Thanks again, ERIN Montgomery. The best to you and yours.
Thank you very much.
Okay, bye-bye.